Fox News alert, new fallout now. Battle in Washington over the federal budget and our spending. Welcome to a brand new hour of America Live, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Happy Friday. The president speaking a short time ago, placing blame squarely on the shoulders of Republicans for failing to stop the automatic spending changes that are going to kick in at midnight tonight. That's a plan that the White House came up with. Congress approved it, and then President Obama signed it into law. But for all the president's concern, today was the first full meeting he has held with congressional leaders on the issue. It was scheduled to take 7 minutes. Wound up taking 47, we were told. When asked by the White House press corps if he would share and should share part of the blame for what we're seeing here, this is what he said.
I've put forward a plan that calls for serious spending cuts, serious entitlement reforms, goes right at the problem that is at the heart of our long-term deficit problem. I've offered negotiations around that kind of balanced approach. And so far we've gotten rebuffed because what Speaker Boehner and the Republicans have said is we cannot do any revenue. We can't do a dime's worth of revenue. So what more do you think I should do?
We also heard the president warning again today of the impact of these spending changes, saying it won't be the apocalypse, but, quote, the pain will be real. A message we have heard from the White House for weeks now, although, you know, before it sounded more apocalyptic. In recent days, it's gotten less apocalyptic. The president pointing in particular to what he says will happen on military bases and to the children of those who are in our armed services.
The Department of Defense right now has to figure out how the children of military families are going to continue with their schooling over the next several months, because teachers at these army bases are typically civilians. They are therefore subject to furlough, which means that they may not be able to teach 1 day a week.
Joining me now, Pete Hegseth. He's CEO of Concerned Veterans for America and one of the vets who used to live on a military base. Pete, welcome back to the program. So the president expressing some concern there for members of the military and what these, you know, reductions in the increase to spending are going to do to them. Your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, across the board, and you even heard Mayor Michael Bloomberg take him to task for it, this administration is employing the old Washington Monument strategy. What is the worst possible conceivable scenario? Let's put that out front and say that's going to happen across the board. No one's for laying off teachers in DOD schools, especially those who might have a father or mother in Afghanistan, and that's exactly what he said as well. No one's for that. That may or may not happen. I'm not quite sure. But if it does, it's a reflection of the nature of these cuts, which don't lend themselves to any reform at all. Furloughs mean you're just delaying tough decisions. You're not actually reforming anything. And ultimately, Megyn, step back from all of it. President's been talking about this for 18 days. He had 18 months to lead on this. He has not, and now it's turned into a complete blame game. The president thinks he's got a winning hand on revenues, and he's playing it over and over and over.
Well, you heard him say he didn't acknowledge really that he came up with the idea, although his White House spokesperson has already admitted that. And he didn't talk about the fact that he signed it into law. He did talk about the fact that it became a law, and then he says he tried to go back to the Republicans to come up with something better. Now, they came to him with what they thought was better, and both sides rejected the other side's proposals. But he says the Republicans are the only ones who rejected a balanced approach, that's what he uses, that's his term, of tax reform, which means tax hikes, and spending cuts. He says it's really the Republicans, military guys, are going to have to blame for this.
Well, he thinks he's got a very winning political hand here. As someone who's been in the military, you know where leadership stops. You know what leadership looks like. You know what it means to say, we've got a problem here. This can't happen. And we're going to bring sides together to fix it. That's what leadership is. Leadership isn't speeches. Leadership isn't grandstanding. Leadership isn't finger pointing. It's bringing people into a room and saying, we may disagree on a lot of fundamental stuff. And certainly Speaker Boehner and the president do. But for him to just stand up there and say, hey, Republicans don't want to do this because of revenue is indeed disingenuous, because it's been a lot of finger pointing, both sides getting very defensive. Some of us believe, hey, there's some ways you could really flip the script on the president here, and hey, let's close a couple corporate loopholes that benefit the rich, and maybe lower the payroll tax, and simplify the code for the little guy, so that we don't look like we're just obstructionists on revenue. There's ways to flip this, but really it comes back to the president and leadership, and he's not leading, and we got to call him to the carpet on that.
What do you make
and
of it?
Who's going to pay for it? The DOD in some ways.
He is, of course, our commander-in-chief. We were told when they struck this deal that put these automatic spending reductions in place that it was the Democrats who wanted the cuts to the military, and it was the Republicans who wanted the cuts to the discretionary spending, outside the military. They wanted that, so that both parties would feel some pain. And, but today the president is up there as the champion of the military, trying to blame the cuts on the Republicans. Both parties have, their hands in it. But your thoughts on that and on the president's protection of the military?
Well, it's ironic. I think what the president is doing here is everything but protecting. By pushing tough choices down the road, by being unwilling to, he says he wants to reform entitlements. I hope he means it, but really at the negotiating table, that hasn't yet manifested itself. And anyone serious about defense knows that the biggest security threat we've got right now is our out-of-control spending and our debt and deficit. So until you're willing to fundamentally address that, you're going to get stupid cuts, Megyn. These are stupid cuts to the Defense Department and other parts of the discretionary budget. Republicans, many of which are sick of just the spending culture, are willing to cave. But, for those of us who are both deficit hawks and defense hawks, these are the worst type of cuts because they indiscriminately cut, and everything we say, stuff rolls downhill in the military. Well, that's what's happening here. So you see not tough choices on big, expensive weapon systems, but furloughs for 800,000 DOD civilians who are going to feel the heat of a lack of courage in Washington.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about you had written a piece earlier this week where you were critical of the First Lady because of her Oscars appearance. Why was that, Pete?
Well, I think it was she used them as props, a minor offense in my opinion, but because if you look at the real record of this administration with veterans, a lot of smokescreen, not a lot of results. The backlog has doubled for VA claims under this administration. We got 900,000 veterans waiting in line. The average claim is now 9 months. You're waiting for a response. Some people in some places are waiting for over 2 years. And then the vets unemployment rate, which they said they've tried to target, has persistently remained above the civilian average. The lives of vets here at home are no better than they were 4 years ago, but the administration loves to take the credit and make it look like they're friends of veterans. The Oscars was just another example where Michelle Obama was happy to stand in front of uniformed members, who she never acknowledged, by the way, that they were standing there, creating the image that for vets, and I think we need to call them to the carpet where they're not delivering.
Pete Hegseth, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Megyn.
I'll see you soon.